Hi students, how are you doing today? My name is Kelli McArdell and I am an engineer at the C&S Companies located right in Syracuse, New York, right by the Syracuse airport. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about engineering, but first let's dive into a little bit about myself. I graduated from Baldwinsville where I went to high school, so shout out if there's any Baldwinsville Bees on the call. I then went on to my bachelor's degree at SUNY IT in civil engineering technology. And then I continued on for my master's degree at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in project management. Things I like to do in my free time involve ballet dance, hiking, kayaking, golfing. I love Chipotle, and I love Carhartt clothes. So I'm here today to talk to you about engineering, what it's like to be an engineer. It's not a simple solution, so we're going to dive into a lot of things and hopefully answers your questions about engineering. When you think of STEM or STEAM, usually science, technology, engineering, and math, the E stands for engineering. So let's dive right into that. What is the definition of an engineer? An engineer sees a problem and uses math and science to find a solution. That's a really basic definition, but we're going to dive a little bit more into it today. There's many types of engineers that you can work as. Today, we're going to cover briefly aerospace, biomedical, chemical, civil, computer, electrical, environmental, mechanical, nuclear, structural. There's many more though. They would actually fill up this whole screen. These ones are kind of your main types of engineers. Aerospace engineers work on anything that is flying in the sky, airplanes, satellites, spaceships, anything that really needs lift to get off the ground. They design and do all those calculations. Biomedical engineering deals with anything in the medical field. As you can see in the picture, there's a device that is teaching the gentleman how to walk. And biomedical engineers work on those types of devices. Chemical engineers, they work on any sort of chemical compounds, medicines, wastewater treatment facilities, as you can see on the screen. Civil engineers, I'm actually a civil engineer. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this one because that's what I do. But civil engineers work on roads, buildings, bridges, airports, anything you see in the real world around you that's large infrastructure. Computer engineers, they can deal with the software or the hardware components of a computer. Electrical engineers, how do we get lighting through our parking lots, through our homes, or anything that has a circuit board, your cell phone, your laptop, anything like that, electrical engineers have worked on and touched. Environmental engineering. As you can see in the picture, the gentleman is working in what is a wetland cleanup or anything with solar farms or wind turbines. Mechanical engineers, they deal with anything that is gears or how things work together. As you can see in the picture, cars or the Coca-Cola plant, how all that works together and moves was definitely worked on by a mechanical engineer. Nuclear engineer, if anybody's familiar with 9 Mile up in Oswego, they convert power to be used. And structural engineers, they deal with large, massive buildings, how they move and flow in the wind. Because if anybody has been on top of a really tall building, you can feel it wave around. It's because it's supposed to move with the wind so it doesn't fall over. Oh, I know, it's a little scary. That's okay. A structural engineer has designed and worked on that to make sure it's safe for everybody. So those are just a few types of engineers, and each one of those you can dive in deep and talk about different categories of it, different professions of it. But let's talk about general. What is a recipe for a good engineer? So if you want to become an engineer, these are things that you should maybe possess or like to become a good engineer. Math and science are number one. You don't have to be top of your class, getting 100s, or in your honors classes. As long as you like them, that's okay. Because let's be honest, I only got like 85s and 90s in school. I wasn't 100. So if I can do it, y'all can do it. You also need to be a hard worker. When you're an engineer, you deal with a lot of problems at one time. So making sure you're a hard worker and not lazy is pretty important. And lastly, you want to enjoy working in teams. Look at your classroom or around your home right now. You'll see light switches, walls, a lot of different components where different engineers had to work together in a team. Think of your school classroom. There's an electrical engineer that hooked up your projector, electrical engineer that hooked up the light switch to turn on the lights when you come in. And then there was a structural engineer who evaluated the walls of your school. We all work together to make one big team to make these projects work and function. So why was engineering for me? When I was younger, I loved building things, whether it be Legos or Connects or Bionics. I loved putting things together. I also loved construction. It was just a passion of mine. I really enjoyed driving past construction sites. I also loved technology class. So shout out to all the technology teachers out here who are listening to this. I appreciate you because you helped me choose my career. So if you love technology class, maybe engineering is going to be for you. So let's talk about the education required to become an engineer. So specifically at my company, C&S, or within the civil engineering realm, if you get a 2-year degree, which is known as your associate's degree, you will become a drafter. So you're going to do advanced plans on AutoCAD. You might have heard them called blueprints. You might have seen them for a house or for a project. You can work on those. A 4-year degree is known as your bachelor's degree. And a lot of people who are engineers get that in engineering. So like we talked about before, you can do mechanical engineering, civil engineering, whatever type of engineer you would like to be. And then if you go on past the 4 years of school, generally to a master's or a doctorate, that's where you're going to move up into upper management later on in your career because you have that more advanced education. It's not required by any means, and it is expensive and takes a little bit, but you can definitely do it if you put your mind to it. Local colleges and universities. We just talked about the type of education, and on here, you'll see colleges and universities right pretty much in New York State, pretty local. Big ones for engineering, we have our Clarkson, that's up in Potsdam, New York, pretty close to the New York and Canada border. RIT, which is Rochester Institute of Technology, ESF in Syracuse, which are located right here in Syracuse, and SUNY Polytechnic, which is where I went. Should you want to do a 2-year degree first at a community college, Onondaga and Cayuga are great local options. These are not all the colleges and universities that you can attend. They're just some local ones to potentially spark your interest. So after you get your degree, you then have to go to work. Oh my gosh, I know it seems daunting, but that's okay. Work can be fun. I know that's probably crazy to think, but sometimes work is definitely fun. And here are some local engineering companies. Again, there's hundreds. These are sort of the bigger names in the Syracuse area right here. C&S Companies, my employer, shout out to C&S if anybody's watching this. We have Novellus in Oswego. Lockheed Martin is right in Liverpool. Bluff Harbor in Syracuse. Barton LaJudas in Syracuse. SRC in Syracuse. O'Brien and Gear in Syracuse, and Hutamaki in Fulton are all probably local ones that maybe you have cousins, brothers, sisters, parents, anything like that who may work at these places. All great local engineering firms. Again, there's more than this. These are just the ones that are close to us. Let's talk about your salary as an engineer. A lot of people don't like to talk about money because it's kind of a close thing to people's heart. You don't really want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it today because I like to dish all the secrets out about engineering. So let's compare your salary if you were to work at a Circle K versus C&S Companies. So you go to Circle K and you work the cash register, and then you come to C&S as an entry-level engineer. If you look at the bottom line of numbers, if you choose the Circle K, which is a great employer and a great position, you will bring home, or your pay or your salary is going to be $27,000 per year. If you come into C&S as an entry-level engineer, it'll be $64,000 per year. Again, both are great options, both are great positions. just explaining to you what the money offset will be, because when you get older, you have things like a house you want to pay for, cars you want to pay for, cell phones you want to pay for. So the more money you have, it's going to be a lot easier to pay for those. So let's talk about what I do at work every day. When I was in your shoes, I always wanted to know, what does an engineer actually do every day? Because people would show me pictures of roads and bridges because I was interested in civil engineering. But I really wanted to know, when you wake up and go to work at 8 a.m., what are you actually doing? So here's a funny little picture for you. I actually sleep at work, which is completely a joke, but sometimes completely not. So that's for a different presentation. So my favorite part of my job is that I get to be inside and outside for my job. It is the best. I don't do the same thing every day. Let's think about your teachers, right? Your teachers, that's the profession they chose to be a teacher. They come to school every single day at 7:30 in the morning and leave at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And they do the same thing every single day. You start with math, then you go to social studies, and then you go to recess, and then you go from here and you go on. I don't have that. I can be traveling. I can be in an office. I can be out on a construction site. And that to me is so exciting because it changes it up and it's a variety. It's keeps it sort of fresh and new. Let's talk about it a little more. So in the office, what we do in the office are creating those plans or those blueprints I was talking about. And we use programs such as MicroStation and AutoCAD to draw roadways, highways, signs, and traffic signals. Again, that's specifically what I do as a civil engineer. You can ask a mechanical engineer or an aeronautical engineer or a biomedical engineer, and they would do things completely different. But I use those programs, and if anybody has experience through their high school with Inventor or Google SketchUp, those are great segues into MicroStation and AutoCAD. You're using kind of the first step. MicroStation and AutoCAD are going to be that second step to really get you there at the professional engineering level. Here's an example of an airport that I worked at. This is actually a live AutoCAD drawing on my computer. It's in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And what you're looking at is the aerial view of an airport. Do you see the long lines? I got a backwards screen, so my hand motions are going to be a little off. But you see the long lines, that's the runways where the aircraft are going to come land. What we were working on is a $50 million building to house 3 fighter jets. And so they can go in and get worked on. And you see the little color on the screen, just that little thing was that $50 million building. That's crazy. Here it is zoomed in. What you're looking at is what I had to draw on AutoCAD. I know it looks crazy and confusing, but in here we have any utility lines running underneath the ground because we had to get gas and water into the building as well as electricity. You'll see the blue checkered area. That's going to be a concrete apron. It has to be so strong to hold the fully loaded jets because when they're loaded with people and fuel, they are heavy. So you need to make a heavy chunk of road so it can hold it. And here it is up close with the 3 aircraft inside of it. Pretty cool project, if you ask me. So here's another project up at, it's actually right by Syracuse University. We were adding in bike lanes. So you see the little white paint on the road over here with the bike, the guy on the bike and the arrow. So that's a bike lane. So what that does is that allows individuals on bikes to ride in that lane, almost like a car. You get your own lane as a bicyclist. And so we produce these photo simulations, and what they do is they show how the road's going to look. That bike lane actually isn't there. We drew that on the computer to make it look like it was there. And then if you look really closely at some of the cars on the right side of your screen, those were actually photoshopped in. Don't tell anybody. Our secret. Those are called photo simulations, and we work on these a lot too at C&S. And if you spot the error, if you've already caught it, the white car in the middle is actually driving on the wrong side of the road. So kind of like when you post pictures to probably your Instagram or you post videos to TikTok and you realize that there's a mistake, We have to check that too sometimes. It's just not Photoshop with our pictures, it's Photoshop with our projects. So here's another photo simulation. If you look at the left, that is what is there right now. And we told the town of Amsterdam that we're going to help them make it look more pretty. So we propose how it'll look after the project on the right. And it looks a lot better if you ask me. Here's another example. This is a dangerous intersection where a lot of individuals were getting hurt, injured, or fatalities where they crashed because they would come in, crash. The T-bone intersection is not what you want. Those are very dangerous car accidents. So we decided to show in a photo simulation an option of a roundabout, which is much safer because cars are going slower through the roundabout and eliminate that T crashing motion. Here's another picture. This is an aerial drawn in MicroStation, which is a program, versus a photo that I took from the plane. So an aerial photo. You can see in this picture how closely related our drawings are on our computer versus what's there in real life. It looks almost virtually the same. In this photo simulation, we added sidewalks. We deal a lot with sidewalks for pedestrian safety and putting in new sidewalks. So if you were to go to this site right now, there's not actually a sidewalk there. Again, we added it in. Don't tell anybody. See, the secrets I am telling you today. Oh my gosh. Here's another one. We added on-street parking to this one. And you can see the gentleman on the right with his dog, again, completely fake. Most of those people in this picture are completely fake. But again, don't tell anybody. Here's another one where we were taking a road and either adding lanes or subtracting lanes. And you can see in the top, there's 2 lanes of traffic and 2 lanes of parked vehicles. And in the bottom, there's nowhere for a road. So we've taken the road completely out and made it where they can have shops, food trucks, a kiosk, and you can eat your lunch out there. We also do 3D printing. And this is a road that I was actually the engineer for. This is to scale, so it's smaller because obviously it's a real road. So when we 3D print it, we make it smaller. And what we were showing is the thicknesses of everything. So on here, you can see the stone, the roadway, the sidewalk. We were showing that and modeling that in a 3D model. So also very cool. And that was a road up in Plattsburgh, New York. That's way up north, almost on the New York and Canada, kind of Vermont border. Here's another photo sim. This is on the top left. You'll see what we drew on our computer versus what was actually done. So you can see in this picture, we talked to our client, which was Auburn, New York, and they originally wanted to do that kiosk where you see the 2 people standing looking at the map with kind of that red roof. They decided to take that out, and they could see that in our photo simulation that they didn't like it. So we ended up changing it to what you can see as the actual photo, which has like 2 little posts and is kind of like slanted, almost like you would see at the zoo, kind of pointing out animals. They wanted to go with that option. So again, super cool things that we work on. This is one of my absolute favorite projects. So this was at an airport in Delaware. So on the left is what our client had. This airport did not like these signs. If you look at these signs, there's a lot of color, it's hard to read, and look at the posts are really, really, really skinny, right? Well, in Delaware, because they're so close to the ocean, the wind is whoosh, crazy all the time. Way more crazy wind than we have up here in New York. So they wanted to make all of the signs blue so it was easier to read, bigger text, and make it so it didn't blow crazy in the wind. So on the left, you see what was there. In the middle, you'll see what I drew right on my computer. And then on the right picture is what was actually done in there today. So you can see everything has a blue background and it's got really thick, big posts on it. How cool. That was probably one of my favorite projects. So I liked it because it was colors and it was fun. And we had to design the signs so they didn't blow around. Like I said, it was one of my favorites. So most of that stuff was in the office. Let's talk about out in the field. So when I go out in construction, that's hard hat, work boots, construction vest. You can see me holding up the sign that says Kirkville Road. That's actually kind of right in East Syracuse, Manoa. So shout out if anybody from ESM is going to see this video. That's me standing right outside in front of the Amazon warehouse that is right on Kirkville Road, holding up the sign that goes up to see the roadway name. So if you look, I am 5'5". It's a pretty large sign. You probably didn't realize how big those signs had to be. So we have to design those and then put them up on that little upside down L shape that you see that gentleman working on. This is a project up at Syracuse University. If anybody goes to any of the games at the Dome, you've probably seen this. So what we installed is a push button. You go and push a button and the lights flash. So it tells individuals that somebody is using the crosswalk. If you have a crosswalk that is used by a lot of pedestrians, you put those in. And again, I tell you guys so many secrets. They just installed 4 of these at the Syracuse airport. So we put those in again in high pedestrian places to improve safety. Again, don't tell anybody all these secrets. Oh my gosh, I'm divulging everything. So this is up at Syracuse University again. You can see the really tall silver pole. That was old, so we got rid of it. So that's why I said, bye-bye, see you later. Wouldn't want to be you, right? We got a new one that we put in. You can see where it says new arm. So we put in new yellow, red, green lights, new push buttons where you go push and it counts down 10, 9, 8, and the hand flash at you to walk faster. We did all new at an intersection up at Syracuse University. And that is me out there in the hard hat with the vest and the long hair, working with the guys on the site. Here it is from a different angle. My coworkers wanted this one because I was eating my lunch on the corner right there, and they always make fun of me saying that I sleep at work and I don't work hard. So there's their proof, and obviously it was a joke. This is a different view though. You can see bye-bye to the older yellow traffic signals or red, yellow, greens. Those are completely gone now. And then we were putting the new arm in. Here's another project. This was in Rio Grande, New Jersey at an airport there. Again, me sitting underneath one of the signs. This is signs that led you around the airport, where you were going, as well as addresses. So if you look in the picture where I'm sitting on the ground, you'll see the 201 and the 199. Those were actually the addresses of the building. So individuals could get to the buildings they needed to go quicker. So think of it as a house address. If your house address is 201 Smith Ave, we would put a sign 201 out front to show and tell people that that's where they could go. Also did a new project. These signs just got installed maybe 2 weeks ago at the Syracuse airport. Anybody who drives over there, you will see them. You know the person who worked on those, this girl. Super cool project, right close to home. And what we did is we changed and made everybody change where they're picking up and dropping off. So dropping off people is happening on the purple loop, and blue and orange is going to be your pickup locations. You probably all don't have driver's license, some of you, but some of you do. But if you go, you'll see those new signs right up, and you can say that you knew the girl in the company that worked on that. So lastly, some of my favorite projects that I've got to work on, because I get that question a lot. I liked working on the Amazon projects. I actually worked on the roadway part of the Amazon in Kirkville and the roadway part of the Amazon building in Liverpool. I worked on the TF Green Airport extension for the runway. That is in Rhode Island. They extended the runway so you could fly over to Europe easier. Why would they extend the runway in Rhode Island? Rhode Island is very east in the United States. So when you go to Rhode Island, it requires less fuel to fly to Europe because you're closer. Think of if you were going to fly from California to Europe. It's not really close. So those people will go from California to Rhode Island to then Europe. So it makes it closer. It's more efficient for the airlines. I also worked at Detroit, which is in Michigan, on a project there. And then I'm working on a project up in Plattsburgh where we are replacing a whole street. You'll also see a picture of me on the screen where we were doing some paving on a runway, and I have a surveying stick in my hand. That helps us check our depths of our new asphalt, tar, or pavement that was going down. And lastly, I would open it for any question and comments, but this is a recorded session, so we don't have any. But I will leave you with some advice as high school students, because I was always in your shoes looking for advice. I will give you 3 pieces of advice. 1, social media. Social media is around all of us, right? We have TikToks, we have Snapchats, we have Instagram, we have Viscos, whatever you may have. Be careful what you post on your social media, okay? Especially as young children. When you go to get a career, your employers will see that, and you don't want anything that's embarrassing or anything that's crude, because they may not hire you. So make sure, double check that your social media is either private, or just don't post those videos in general. Second thing I want to tell you is internships. If you are going to college or are going right to the workforce, internships are great. And what internships are is that's where you go work for companies, and usually it's a discounted pay. So we talked about C&S was $31 an hour. I believe our interns make about $16 to $18. And what it is they make $16 to $18 an hour, and they work for us and are doing real engineering things, but they're in college still, so they're still learning. So always be on the lookout for internships. And last thing, because I have talked way too long and you're probably not listening anymore, is networking. Networking is so important in your lives. And what that is just talking to people who are in your industry, talking to teachers, and using their contacts. The world that we live in right now is about who you know. Who's going to give you those connections to help you? Of course, it's about what you know, but those who you know connections are really important. So if you have, when you get to be a senior or in college, think of your aunts, uncles, your parents' friends, your family friends, and use them to ask questions or ask them if their company offers an internship. And I know it feels uncomfortable, right? You got a weird feeling in your stomach and you don't want to go talk to them, and you're like, am I doing this right? You are, okay? You need to put yourself out there and network and show that you're the best and you're going to be a great employee, and you will have no problems finding a job. You don't want to be super shy and quiet, and that's fine if you are, but you want to put yourself out there and put on a good presentation and get those connections to land a full-time job. And again, for people that's shy, that's going to be hard, but sometimes you got to put on your game face and say, I can do it, and I know you can do it. And you just get over the shyness for about 5 minutes, have your conversations, and then you can go back to being shy, and it's okay. So with that, I think my presentation is over, and I hope you guys enjoy this. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I was going to say maybe we'll give you my email or my phone, but we will hopefully be in touch, and I hope you guys like and see the signs at Syracuse Airport. Have a good day, guys.